Hey guys, Lexicon here. Today we're going to take a look at some hidden features available in the console version of Overwatch. Now I know some of the stuff I'm going to go through is stuff that a lot of you already know, but the game has grown up to 20 million players in the last couple of months, so there are some new faces out there and they might benefit from some of this knowledge. So the first thing we're going to talk about is your control scheme. You can go to the options menu and go to controls. I recommend turning your sensitivity up to 100%. Now what this does for you is it'll make it faster for you to track targets, and I know it's going to throw you off at first, but you're going to thank me later once you get used to playing with this mode. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is that the jump button is defaulted to X. Now the problem with that is you actually have to remove your finger from the right thumbstick in order to hit jump. And a lot of characters that's actually not a very good idea, especially somebody like Genji. So you can actually go to any of these different abilities on the PS4 version, and I'm sure it's the same on the Xbox, and on this one you would hit square to unbind it. Now it's empty. PC players will be very familiar with this sort of thing. Now you can go to the ability again, and this time I'm going to switch it over to another ability, or another button, so I'm actually going to put it on my left thumbstick. So in this case you hit the X button to actually bring up the binding menu, and you push the button you wish to bind it to, and in this case I'm going to put it on L3. So when I go back in the game, all I got to do is push the L3 button, and I am jumping around with Genji. And which is really cool though, is because now I can jump and turn at the same time, and I don't have to do anything but push the button down and climb a wall. Which is kind of Genji's bread and butter. You know, he jumps in, strikes quickly, moves back out of the battlefield, which makes him one of the most dangerous opponents out there. A pro Genji player will really wreck a team if he's good enough. So the next thing we're going to talk about is your reticle. So as you can see the crosshairs right here, when I fire a burst shot, they stay steady. But if I fired a wall and I just lay on the trigger, you see that you have a spread pattern, and that the crosshairs bloom out. That gives you an idea where the spread's going to go, but to be honest, if you're firing at center mass anyway, you're probably going to be getting the hit, because the spread pattern's not that high. So what you want to do is go into the options menu. You may not like that bloom, and go to the control menu again. This time, go to the top tab, and you can actually select heroes individually. So I'm going to go to Soldier on this one. I don't like that bloom. I'm going to turn it off. I don't like that crosshair. I'm going to go to a shorter crosshair, and you know what? I'm going to go ahead and change the color because I can. I like this color better. It lets me track a little bit easier. So now I can lay on the trigger, and I'll still get the same result, but now I have a much wider field of view here because I don't have a big crosshair blocking my view, which, you know, some people may not bother them, but I actually like the minimalistic look of as much as I can. Now I can go in and change the crosshair for every single character, or I can do a default across the board. So if I wanted everybody to have this crosshair, I could. Now in that case, it may not be the best idea. A good example of that would be like D.Va, whose spread is basically like two shotguns here. Same thing with Reaper. You get an idea of where the spread's going to hit. See, I can pretty much fire anywhere in this circle, and I'm going to get some sort of a hit. Even obviously, it's closer to the middle, it's going to do more damage, and the closer you are, it's going to do more damage. Now, another good example of this, though, is, and this is one of I think my best examples, is Tracer. So she starts out with a small reticle, but if I lay on it, obviously it blooms up because she fires really rapidly. But you know, I've found that circle actually kind of throws me off sometimes. So if I go into the options menu and I go back to the game, to the control scheme, I'll go to hers, and I'm actually going to turn the bloom off, and I'm actually going to go to that small short crosshair that I like. And the reason why is because as long as I'm keeping it center mass, I actually have a much better idea of where my bullets are going to go. With that larger reticle, when it blooms, it makes it a little hard for me to track sometimes. And I can actually track a little bit better at a distance this way. Now, you could go in and change everybody's crosshair to the exact same if you wanted. D.Va and Reaper, I wouldn't recommend it. Also with Hanzo, so I'm going to kind of show you that with Hanzo. His, actually, I prefer the one that comes with it, even though it's a lot more in my face. It gives me a better idea of where the arrows are going to travel, and I can track using the vertical bars there to get an idea of like if I'm lined up for a headshot, if they're moving. Also, I found that if you change the default, if I were to use a scatter arrow, it gives, or the this arrow, the sight arrow here, I find it easier for me to know which one I have activated if I have the default on, because it actually changes it. If it's on the one that I change universally, it won't change if you change abilities. And that's about it for my video today. If you found any value in it, I'd really appreciate it if you'd let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit that like button below, and if you could help me grow the channel by subscribing, I'd really appreciate it. And I really hope that this helped out some of the newer players, maybe improve some of their gameplay. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.